Hi everyone, Bren here. Welcome to this week's garden update. Now, before we get into it, I did just want to say to you that I'm sorry I didn't get a video out last Friday. I did put a post up on the community section here on YouTube explaining what happened, in case any of you missed that. But I'm back today, feeling a lot better mentally, and I'm excited to show you around because there's been a couple of small changes in the garden. I managed to put in a couple of new garden beds that are full of edible crops. I also visited my local favourite garden centre and purchased a few plants. A few more than I had planned to pick up, but that's typical of us gardeners, isn't it? And then what else? Oh yeah, and I'm going to share with you a project that I'm going to be working on over the next few months, where I'm hoping to have it all prepared and ready for planting in spring. So please just sit back, relax for a few minutes, and let's get into it now. The brassicas in this bed are looking fairly happy. There's cauliflower, broccoli and one kale plant. And then over here at the back, I popped in a couple of celery seedlings. I just wanted to say, if any of you are thinking of growing celery for the first time this year, just be aware that a homegrown celery plant, in my experience, grows to a huge size, way bigger than any celery that you could purchase at the supermarket. So I just think that's important to bear in mind when you're deciding how many plants to put into your patch. Oh, the girls are distracting me. Because you could end up with way more celery than you actually need. So I popped in 2 plants there. I might put a third in somewhere else, but I really think that's more than enough for my family of 5. And you know what? If you put too much celery in, you end up not really eating it, and it's good that you give it away, but you could have used that space for some other edible crop. I have been considering covering this entire bed up with some netting, because I have noticed that there looks like there is some pest pressure on a few of these plants. A telltale sign is all of the holes on the leaves. I suspect that this is the cabbage white moths, which are laying their eggs on the back of the petals. Oh, look at that. Do you see over here? Oh, my nails are filthy, but I know you guys don't care. There is one of those little caterpillars causing all of these holes, and I'm sure she has a few friends on the back of the other foliage too. I'll have to go and check that. So if I cover that bed up with netting, what it pretty much means is that the cabbage white butterflies or cabbage white moths, always get mixed up with their name, but you know what I'm talking about, those white butterflies. It just prevents them from being able to access your brassica plants, and if they can't do that, they can't lay the eggs. The caterpillars can't grow and eat the foliage. You know what I'm saying. So yeah, it's pretty handy. It's a good time saver. I think it's quite useful if you're growing a lot of plants, because if you don't have the netting, what you really need to be doing is going out every day or every couple of days and checking the back of the foliage for the eggs and caterpillars, which can be very time consuming. Yeah, so I'm not really sure what I'm going to do yet. I do have some more brassica seedlings to put out in the ground, and I don't really fancy spending lots of time having to do daily pest checks on a large amount of plants. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll have decided by next week and I'll be able to tell you then. I just remembered something really important to say, especially for new gardeners. If you are using netting to protect your edible crops or fruit trees or whatever, make sure you use the correct netting and you put it on properly too, because you just don't want to get any wildlife, any birds tangled up in it. That would be awful. So it's really important to be responsible, I guess you would say, a responsible gardener, and put it on correctly. Beside the brassica bed, just past the cardboard pathway, which I will eventually cover up with bark so it doesn't look as ugly, I have a new larger bed which is almost ready for planting. This bed is approximately 1.5 meters by 3 meters in length, although it does have the possibility of going further back, which I will get around to eventually. I'm hoping to clear this whole space except for this, which is the pineapple sage plant. Going to clear all of that and then probably clear, that's actually a fence there too, which is covered in weeds. I'm going to put up maybe a trellis and grow some of the sweet peas or some edible peas up along there. But for the moment, I'm just taking one step at a time. And this weekend, I'm going to get this patch finished and planted up with not sure what yet. Maybe edibles, maybe flowers, maybe a mix of both. We'll see. These two beds at one stage looked like this one, an overgrown weedy mess. Remember, this is where I had the Persian crest. I still have some of the catmint, and then there was some various other flowers down there, and it's just got out of control. Now, to save myself time, instead of coming in here pulling out everything, the only thing I will remove from this bed is this, the catmint. I'll probably put it in pots or transfer it elsewhere, and then I will do a similar process here to what I did over here, which is very fast, very efficient, and definitely quite sustainable. I have gone through this before, but just in case there's anyone new watching, I'll quickly go through the steps. So pretty much what you want to do is you want to come in and chop down all the overgrown plants, weeds, whatever they are, chop them down to the base level. You don't need to pull any of them out. You can do that with a hand secateurs, but a quicker way is to use your mower and run over it, and then just leave all the cuttings where they drop. You don't need to bother gathering them up, because the next step is you're going to get some cardboard or paper and put on a thick layer of that covering the whole bed, and then you come in with your hose, you dampen it, and then you want to cover the whole area with some compost, manures, whatever you like to put onto the top of the bed. Just make sure that it's well rotted down if you're planning on planting into it immediately. And I like to put maybe at least 3 inches of compost on top, and it just works perfectly. The cardboard after a few months will start to break down, and before it does that, it will actually kill anything underneath. So you don't need to worry about any growth coming up through the compost, and you've pretty much got an easy, quick, brand new bed. I'm giving myself a new project to work on this winter, which is this area over here. Very overgrown, very weedy, messy, but it has a lot of potential. Here it is from a different angle. So in fact, this spot is one large raised bed, which when we first moved into this property, I had a few little shrubs and some very annoying invasive plants like this one here. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. Give me a sec. It's called a Vinca Major. I'll pop the name up on the screen. Oh my goodness. So when we first moved in here, there was a little patch of it and I didn't think much. I thought it was pretty. It has these lovely little blue flowers. But then over the years I noticed it started to spread, and I was thinking, oh, it's grand, it's a nice ground cover. But then when I began to feel like it was getting a bit invasive and I tried to remove it, that's when I realized that it's actually quite a full-on plant that can take over the place. It puts out these runners, and it's actually made its way out of that raised bed and is popping up in some of the other beds that are close by. So yeah, I have tried to remove it, but it's really difficult, and that's going to be a really big project to work on, how I'm going to get rid of it the organic way. I mean, I'm not going to be using any sprays. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really want to be spending hours trying to dig up the roots. yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that a lot more. Have any of you had any experience with it? Any tips to share? Not sure what to really do about it, but I definitely know I want it gone. I want it gone from our garden. You can see that is a bit of a problem. It seems to be climbing up everywhere. But what I'm planning on doing here is completely clearing out the space and planting it up with some lovely pollinator plants to attract more insects, bees, as well as some lovely native flowers and shrubs, and pop in edibles too, you know, so many possibilities. So I guess this is the before shot. The entire area is approximately 4 meters across by 8 meters down, so it's quite large. It's now a few hours later. I've been down to Tarmore Garden Centre. I needed to get some more sugarcane mulch, and I also picked up some seedlings and little plants. Of course, as I mentioned earlier on at the beginning, I did buy more than I was expecting to. Didn't break the bank or anything. I was a little bit naughty, shouldn't have spent that much money, but I did. And let me show you what I got. Here's everything I purchased. A bunch of potted colours. So I have Alyssum, smells amazing, loved by the pollinators. And then a few different types of pansies, or different coloured pansies. White, yellow and a kind of bluish purple. In this other tray, it's mostly edibles, or I guess it is all edibles, even though, you know, nasturtiums are flowers, but you can eat every part of this plant. The seeds, the leaves and the flowers too. And I picked this one up because it has this absolutely beautiful colour, and the lovely lady that works there said it's a really great mounding variety. Usually with the nasturtiums I grow here in my garden, it kind of tends to trail and go all over the place, but she said this particular variety just creates a beautiful mound which is covered in flowers. There's also leeks, red Spanish onions, brown onions, and then this was a complete impulse buy. Very curious to see how they go. I have never purchased any type of peas before as seedlings. I always just sow them direct in the ground or in punnets and transplant them later. But today I bought 3 punnets of these snow peas, which only get to around 50 centimeters in height. I've just picked out a mix from that plant haul, and I've decided I'm going to pop all of these into this new bed. So the alyssums to the front, behind them petunias, then I'm thinking a patch of the red onions, and then all of the snow peas at the back. But before I put any of those in, I need to put some more soil, you know, the composts and amendments on top of here. I just added 4 wheelbarrow loads of mushroom compost. I've just spread it all out. Now before I put in the plants, I'm going to put down the sugarcane mulch, or, you know, the mulch in general first. And that's quite a good time-saving tip. In the past I've made a mistake of putting the plants in and then trying to put the sugarcane mulch in between the plants, which is a lot more time consuming. So if you put this in first, you save yourself a heap of time. It's about 10 minutes later and I have just finished watering the freshly planted edibles and flowers. I didn't end up putting in these 2 punnets because I didn't have enough room pretty much. The spring onions, I'm thinking I may actually put all my onions in this bed so I can get that done. That will be plenty of room, and then they'll just have their own space to grow. And then with the snow peas, I had this extra punnet. I managed to get in, I think it was about 16 here, which is plenty, and I might just put these somewhere else if I can find room, or give them away to someone. Now because I didn't put the spring onions in, or the regular onions, Spanish onions, I did still have a bit of a space, but it wasn't big enough to, you know, allocate to them. So what I ended up doing was putting in some bok choy seedlings that I had. Maybe about 12 or so here in this patch. So you've got the alyssum, the primulas, the bok choy, and then all of the peas here. Hopefully next week I will have managed to get this whole area cleared up and planted, and maybe even start cutting down some of these overgrown shrubs. That will be a bit of a transformation that I'll be able to show you. Well, that is about it for this week, everyone. So glad to be back on here. Thank you so much for watching. Anyone got any nice plans for the week ahead? I know everyone up above is probably enjoying the nice spring weather at this stage. Hopefully most places, you know, the frost has passed. Maybe that's just being a bit optimistic. I hope no one's still getting snow. Oh, that would be awful. Anyway, I will leave you for now. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you again next Friday.